Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the vault. Trust Christian own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening to replay. Always appreciate everyone that tunes in live, listening to replay. This is the vault, episode 534, authenticating your birth certificate. And so we definitely thank everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay throughout the years. And if you're new joining us, always appreciate you. So definitely hit the like and the subscribe button. Always appreciate everybody that hits that like and the subscribe button. Definitely hit that right away so you can remember and just hit the like and subscribe button. So this is an episode that we actually been getting in consultations for over 4 or 5 years now, and it's just something that just keeps coming up. People are continuously still in 2023 are saying, "Oh, I just ran across this information," and so we're going to talk about that information today. And we appreciate everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay, and actually wanting to know about what's going on. So we actually have authenticated our birth certificate over at the vault. It was a process that's been out for over 10 plus years where, oh, if you authenticate your birth certificate, the theory was that you're going to be private. And so we're going to address, is authenticating your birth certificate going to make you private? We're going to talk about, is that something that's in a process, even involved in a private process, and all those good things. So we have a bunch of sources we're going to pull from today. Just like most people are pulling from sources, sometimes they're pulling from sources that aren't even credible or legal. So we sit around lawyers and people all the time that are of the law and know the law. And so when we talk about authenticating your birth certificate, we're going to give the definition that was given to us. What is the benefit of authenticating your birth certificate? And so the professional resource gave us pretty decent definition of what will be the purpose for this, because this is not the reason why most people are doing it. When they come to us, they are telling us that they're doing it because they want to go private. And we immediately have to let them know that you authenticating your birth certificate does not make you private. We're going to go over how you claiming a all capital letter name is not going private. You saying you own it, you owning your name, you claiming your name. See, that's public conversation. And we're private trustees at the vault. So we can have those conversations because we know what privacy is and we know what privacy is not. So, authenticating your birth certificate. The purpose of authenticating your birth, this comes from a legal resource that we have. The purpose of authenticating your birth certificate in the country or state and federal level is to establish an identity and verify the document is genuine. So, why are people trying to establish that this so-called third-party contract, this third-party document that may or may not have been created without their permission, they're trying to claim it? Oh, you want to know why you're claiming it? Because you put time into it. You put energy into it. What happens when you make money off that name? Isn't it a liability associated with that? But they don't want to tell people that in the public. These gurus, these guys are telling people to claim the name. When you claim the name, you claim liability. They don't say that though. The document is to show that the document is genuine. This can be a beneficial in a variety of reasons, such as when you need to apply for a passport, driver's license, or government issue ID, or we need to prove your identity for employment, housing, financial purposes. Authentication of birth certificate in the country involves verifying a document was by the country in which you were born, and that information on the document is correct or accurate. Authentication on the state level involves verifying a document that it was issued by the state in which you were born, quote unquote, and that means that the state standards of it meets the state standards of authenticity. And finally, authentication of the birth certificate on the federal level involves verifying that the document has been issued by the federal government or a foreign government that meets U.S. government standards for authenticity. By authenticating your birth certificate on all levels, you can ensure that you have a valid and accepted form of identification. So once again, these people are claiming something that, why are you claiming it? If you didn't create it, why are you claiming it? Oh, because you've been using it. So you have the right to use, but are you the beneficiary or the trustee? It's a whole lot of confusion on this topic, and the gurus can't get in it and talk about it in one episode or one sitting. That's why their episodes are hours, because it's not one piece of information. It's a bunch of information put together to lead somebody down a rabbit trail and not generally build any wealth or maintain any wealth or get what they call freedom. These people think that they're going to be free. Like this is, it's definitely not that. It's definitely far from slavery. They said, I need to authenticate my birth certificate so I can be free. This is what we've heard recently. It's a valid form of identification. So you're using some form of government ID. And what makes you think you need them to verify who you are? So it is a good idea to authenticate it if you're planning and using it for official purposes. Official purposes might be going to another country, passport, blah, blah. But ladies and gentlemen, we know people, they've gone their whole life without a social security number. We know people that have gone quite a few years of their life without a social security number. So they try to say, oh, it's not you. They got this one gentleman, he said to us, hey, well, it's not when I authenticate it, it's going to be a certificate of live birth, right? And it's got to be apostille attached to it, right? Then I'm going to put an affidavit of ownership. You hear the word ownership? See, when you come to the vault, when you come to the private, we say ownership equals liability. Trusteeship is not liability. Trusteeship is responsibility, not ownership and not liability. Say, oh man, I need to own my name. So they got an affidavit of ownership. So they can say that they're at the age of majority. Well, if you're at the age of majority, are you using a social? If you're at the age of majority, are you using the public entities? If you're at the age of majority, truly. So now you're putting the public on notice that you own a document. That's what they say. We own it now because I got control over it. There's a difference between control and ownership. So they keep saying you got to take ownership of their certificate of title so you can have control over the what? The straw man. That's what they say. The straw man. We wonder, do people think people are stupid? And we think people are stupid. Why? Because people think that lawyers don't know what they're talking about. We've never said on our podcast that lawyers don't know what they're talking about. Lawyers are trained in a very specific way, and that's that, especially in the beginning. After that, they pick up a bunch of different and pieces of information that allow them to distinguish themselves between one good lawyer and one bad lawyer. The way that they do the work from one good lawyer to one bad lawyer. So we've seen it across the board. We're actually going to be sharing with you all an episode here where we're interviewing a lawyer, and that lawyer is a trust and estate planning lawyer. So be on that lookout for that episode. So when you supposedly authenticate the birth certificate, it becomes a certificate of title. Okay. It's a certificate of title. When you're in trust, who receives the certificates? Who receives the trust capital units? The beneficiary. So if you're the beneficiary, are you liable? Yes. Why do you think you deal with the tax liability? Because you're the beneficiary. Oh man, I can't believe this is happening to me. Been duped a lot. Definitely. A lot of people reach out to the vault and they'll say, oh man, I just started, looking into this about wanting to be free. They think that by authenticating their birth certificate, they're going to be free. That's not the case. They think that if I authenticate my birth certificate, it's going to allow me to not have to deal with certain liabilities. Well, here you go. The name that you're using has a number for business purposes, not for private purposes, for public business purposes. Simple as that. We're looking at some other things that we wrote down here, and we're just, it's just such a deep subject matter when you talk about authenticating a birth certificate, and how many people are wasting money. It's just 100%. They're wasting money. Why? Because they think that, oh, I need to become a stateless individual. We've sat on the phone with our mentors. As soon as you become stateless, you become a target. You think that any jurisdiction you live in, they want untrackable people in their jurisdiction? Ladies and gentlemen, if you live in the United States, Native Americans are on reservations because they're able to track them there. It is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Some people say, "Oh, I don't want them to track me." Fair. Are you in the public or are you in the private? Do you have assets in your name or do you not have assets in your name? People reach out all the time to us. "Oh man, I don't have any assets. I barely am making money, but I want to be in trust because I want to be free. I want to authenticate my birth certificate because I want to be free." I want to be free. How's that going to make you free? Well, once I own the name, you're going to put a lien on the name, huh? They're going to do that through a UCC1, huh? You know how many people come and say, "I don't really know exactly what that is when it comes to owning the name. I'm going to own my name." Here we go. You're going to own your name. When you own your name, you're liable for your name. What about my family estate? What if my family estate owned the name? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, you all can go look up a story. This is how people in trust operate. You can go look up the story of one of the Kennedys when he got into a car accident with someone. It's not a hard story, but guess what? When they sued, they got the car and the insurance policy. Wow. When they sued the Kennedy individual, they couldn't sue them because they didn't have the asset in their name. And if they did so, in what point, what difference does it make? They don't have any assets in their name. So there are families in the public. Do they have to be wealthy? No, they have to be knowledgeable. So that's why people reach out to the vault. That's why you're going to reach out to the vault. Is because you're looking for information that's accurate. And if you're not willing to pay for information that's accurate, then keep getting these guys over the internet. I mean, these guys are taking thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from people just because of their ignorance. Oh, you don't know. What? What don't you know? What don't you know? Oh man, I thought I could just use my upper and lowercase name and I'm going to own my uppercase name. I'm going to own the birth certificate. So when any profits are derived from that name, remember, would they call you the certificate of title holder? So that means you're the beneficiary of the all caps name. Hold on. Are you the beneficiary of the all caps name? Traditionally, you are. That's why you deal with the tax liability. See how that works? If it's a trust, if it's something you don't own, but you do benefit from. So in turn, you're liable. This is not hard, ladies and gentlemen, but it's challenging for people that are not going to invest in the information and education around the thought process of being, how do we say, there's nothing wrong with, first of all, securing assets. People say, "Oh, so you saying we shouldn't put our name in a security agreement? We shouldn't do the UCC?" That's what they don't finish with. But are you doing that from a personal position or are you doing that from a business position? We know it from a business position. We definitely don't know it from a personal position. Have no interest in knowing it from a personal position. There's no benefit to owning your name in a personal position. But these goofball gurus over the internet will tell you, "Oh, you should own your name." You got to own the birth certificate. You got to claim it. Claiming it, owner, same daggone thing. So when you own something, don't you have liability until you're paid. That's how it works. And it's just interesting to see how many people reach out and they're stuck because they want to make money and they also know that them authenticating their birth certificate is not helping them make money. So this is what they say in the Constitution. "I don't want the government to be able to come do anything or say anything to me." What planet are you living on? What it's And if you're not doing anything wrong, they're not coming after you, ladies and gentlemen. Like we have a trustee, they had some tax issues, meaning they didn't really file, and in turn, they're getting ready to do some stuff with make a lump sum of money, and they're like, "Well, how am I going to do this?" So we got to get them in front of some of the best tax strategists. We just did an episode with our tax strategist, Larissa, the previous episode, Accounting 101. We appreciate once again everybody for tuning in live, listening to replay. Definitely hit the like and the subscribe. Somebody said, is it ignorance or freedom? How is getting a piece of paper authenticated from a quote unquote, we don't want to call them a complete adverse party, but ladies and gentlemen, if you feel that you're not in a position of advantage from the beginning, what difference does it make if you authenticate it? Oh, well, that means I'm going to own it. That means I'm claiming it. Exactly. That means you're taking on the responsibility of ownership. That's what that means. It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. So many people are looking to do this process. They're flying, they're driving, they're spending hundreds of dollars. Oh, I'm going to do a certified mail so I can get a mail receipt. I got to show, I got to put together an administrative process. This is what they say. I got to put together an administrative process because I don't want the government to be able to touch me. First of all, how you leaving the country through a airport? They usually show passports. It's challenging to move without the proper paperwork. Oh, well, I'm going to get the Citizen National Passport. Have at it, ladies and gentlemen. We've heard that for years. I'm trying to get a Citizen National or the U.S. National. Still got U.S. in it, but they're marketing over the internet. Oh, you're going to be a U.S. National. How is that any different than being a United States citizen? Oh, well, national, it doesn't mean you're under the state. Okay, who issued the passport? The United States did. That's right. So there's still some level of control there. Some people may want to get around that thought. You're still in the public when you do that. When you claim when you claim rights over the public name, you claim that in the public. Why? You do that. Most people traditionally do that through a UCC. Oh, I'm gonna go file on the public record. Right. Why are you notifying people in the public? Because you're using your name in the public. And when you change and don't use that name anymore, here we go. We already let our trustees know. Privacy, when you're not using it, is privacy. What name are you using? The government name or your name? You know, some communities they call it a government name because they feel they don't have control over the name. But what happens when they stop using that name? Literally, just stop using it. When they stop using it, and then they did business, and then taxes are different for businesses than personal. They see the benefit. Oh, I want to go in trust. I'm going to have my trust own my name. Sounds like you're still public. Sounds like you don't know what you're doing. Sounds like if you want mentorship, trustee training, you can feel free to reach out. Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. We work with people for years now, coming to us with that thought process. People have spent hundreds and thousands of dollars. You know, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000. Oh, I'm gonna do a redemption process. I'm gonna pay somebody $5,000 so they could show how I could reclaim power over my birth certificate. What is that gonna do for you? Is that gonna give you money? No one's ever said it's giving them money. So what do they want? This was literally someone said recently. They said, I don't want the government to mess with me. First of all, if you're not doing anything wrong, the government should not be messing with you. And we've never heard that. We haven't heard that the government's just proactively messing with people. But what we have heard is people say, "Oh, I'm a sovereign citizen. I'm a Moorish American. I don't have to pay this. I don't have to do that. I don't have to do this." And we've brought on accountants, ladies and gentlemen, enrolled agents. We brought on ex-IRS agents. That's You don't have to use those names. You don't have to use those names. People use them though. Oh man, I don't need to file this. I don't need to file that. We get them on the line with the enrolled agent that can defend you in court. Not a lawyer now, an enrolled agent. So you can't say, oh, it's the bar. The bar association lawyers are against me. They don't want me to go private. That's what they say. Oh, the lawyers don't want us to go private. The lawyers are hiding information from us. Literally, ladies and gentlemen, if a lawyer done dropped $100,000 on law school, they're looking to make hundreds of thousands and maybe millions of dollars back. They are not worried about taxes or their birth certificate. So we know where this thought process is coming from. Oh, I want to authenticate the birth certificate so the government can't touch me. Touch you how? Well, I'm not property. Fair enough. We heard it. I'm not property of the government. Fair enough. But when you say you're going private, authenticating the birth certificate is not going private. It doesn't look that way. Going private looks like you don't use it anymore. Oh man. So here we go. We're going to tell you our story today. So we're with one of our mentors early in trusteeship, and we're sitting there and we tell him this a few times actually. He says, "Well, Christian, trust Christian, you know." He says, "Once you give up your birth certificate, you won't be able to get. Once you give up the social, you won't be able to take advantage of student loans and federal mortgage loans." And we looked him dead in his eyes and said, "We don't like debt. We don't need debt. That's fair. People go in debt for education. People go in debt for housing. That's a reality, ladies and gentlemen. And the way that you get that is through your so-called discharging mechanism. Oh, I got a discharging entity. It's called the Social Security number. It's called my name because the government is in bankruptcy via HJR 192, whatever it is. And, that means that there is no such thing as money. So, okay, if there is no such thing as money, why do you use it? The conversation ended there for them. See, these are negative thought processes. Oh man, there's no such thing as money because of HJR 192. It says that the country's in the bankruptcy. But then when we talk to these people in the consultation and we ask them questions like, "Are you aware that there's multiple styles of bankruptcy?" They get quiet. They get quiet and they get crickety. You want to know why? Because they're not business people. They're employees trying to find a shortcut, possibly. Or these are people that are ignorant and they need more information. They say, oh, the truth will set you free. Well, the truth is, there's no paper that's going to give you your free. It sounds like some slavery stuff to say that. Oh man, if I claim my birth certificate, I'm not going to be a slave anymore. But this is the fear-based marketing on this subject matter to people. Oh, well, what they say? It's fear. You got to be scared of the government, and if you authenticate your birth certificate, you gonna be free. Oh, really? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, freedom is mental before it's ever physical. So no piece of paper is going to give you your freedom. And if you are in the United States, you were born free. What we think people are confusing is financial freedom versus physical freedom. Fair enough. People say, "Oh man, the money's not real. The money was created by the HJR 192. The government, the what did it say? The Federal Reserve's not really government." First of all, ladies and gentlemen, the vault knows that the Federal Reserve's not the government. Securities agents at the SEC know that the Federal Reserve's not the government. A lot of people know. Lawyers know that the Federal Reserve is not the government. It's a wide known fact. So where do we go from there? If a good the population that really needs to know, the Federal Reserve is not the government. Okay? And so that means you're using fraud notes. Are you using fraud notes? Why are you using the notes that you know are de facto? Because people have accepted this as the general form medium of exchange for currency right now. And that's why it says the people put the faith in that. They didn't have to use Federal Reserve notes. Federal Reserve notes have been pushed into circulation because people have accepted that as a form of medium of exchange. It's not, do you have to use it? It is a acceptable form of payment. Just like when people say, "Oh man, if you live in the United States, you know that there's supposedly no official language of the country, right?" Right. They'll say, "Oh, English isn't the official language of the United States." So what's the official money of the United States? The official money of the United States, is it the US dollar? They're using it right now. So when you talk about, oh man, oh, trust Christian and vote, the Federal Reserve is not the government. We all know that. It's used as the crypto stuff. When y'all look at that crypto stuff, that's why it's been accepted. At one point, you can do business in the United States and in a lot of countries actually now with this crypto stuff. So does that mean that it's going to be the United States currency? You've heard this for a long time. Then you hear people that are in the country that when your dollar, it's worth thousands of dollars in other countries if you decided to go there. So that means you have buying power. United States citizens say, oh man, the dollar's trash. It's going to go backwards in my lifetime. I don't want to see it stay successful. I want it to fail. Yeah. So that means that people from other countries can come to the United States or go to the United States and they're going to go where the exchange rate works in their benefit. But these are things that it's hard to talk about in the public with or people and citizens or people in general. Why? Because they're watching the news. That's telling them that the gov is going to come knock on their door randomly for no reason. So that's why you got to authenticate your birth certificate. Or you got these people over the internet that are pushing fear-based information saying, oh yeah, well if you don't do it, the government, you're not free. What are you talking about? Can you move? Oh man, you don't have to have a driver's license. You don't have to have this. We had one trustee recently say, I just want to be completely private. Ladies and gentlemen, are you the Kennedys? Do you have millions of dollars in trust? And then you got these something for nothing people. Oh man, the government, they've been doing a lot of back end deals with the birth certificate, issuing and trading it privately, internationally on the black market. So the government's made money and they've made money to keep afloat. And I'm still paying taxes and I'm still dealing with this whole financial situation. That is correct. The government is issuing bonds. Those are debt notes. So they can create hypothecation and create liquidity for the currency. That's simple. What it comes down to is people just don't appreciate the system they live in. That's all. The system allows them to use leverage negatively and positively. How does the system allow you to use leverage? Even with the birth certificate, you can use leverage and borrow against the name. That's negative. Why? Because if you don't pay it back, it's a debt now on the name. Okay? So what are you going to do with the name to make it positive? You got to actually build equity. That is trusteeship. And how do you build equity? You have to create capital. You have to have a product, you have to have a service, you have to sell something. It's that simple, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man, I want to be in trusteeship. I want to go private. I got to make sure I go private, take my name off the public. I'm going to go private. Are you going to deal in equity with your name? With the name? Why does it have to be with your quote unquote government name? Good day, good day. We got someone reaching out. Someone says that there's a website or something that says something about donating or something. What is this? Unapologetically me, sister after the God's own heart. Appreciate you for tuning in live, listen, and replay. We're definitely gonna look it up for y'all. What this individual is talking about. So that site's definitely not up. Hold on. Okay. Let's see. Who typed that into the chat? Unapologetically me, a sister after the God's own heart. Could you type into the chat specifically what you're saying? Because we took the site down and are rebuilding it right now, more for app and mobile usage for people that are mobile users. So we haven't really Been dealing with the site for a while. So let's stick on this authentication of your birth certificate. You got so many people that, oh, want to know about the authentication of the birth certificate. Is this going to help me be free? No. Because if you, okay, so let's just say you authenticate the birth certificate. How many people make money off of doing that? Usually you have to pay to get your birth certificate authenticated. Oh man, so what is it protecting you from? First of all, when we say protecting you, is it protecting your name, protecting the name, or is it protecting your body? So we can have real conversations with this information. Because if you're claiming a body, definitely different. That's property. But is that property now? Uh, is that property your property? Do you own that property? Do you benefit from that property? Somebody said they're a lawyer. They say you can't take ownership back because it was never yours in the first place. Exactly. They call it a certificate of live birth. And then you got so many people that are not aware. Oh, well, they're trying to use the semantics. Ladies and gentlemen, what is wrong with dealing with the system and the jurisdiction in this way that it's being dealt with right now? Oh man, the government they used the name and they made some money off it, didn't you? Yeah, that's why you're the one paying taxes on it. You want to hear that again? Did you make money on the name? Yes. Then you were going to pay taxes on it. But if you own a company, you make money in the company. The company deals with its liability, and if you are owner of the company, then you deal with that as well. If you don't own it and you're in control of it, there's a difference. It looks like Donald Trump when Donald says it. It looks like Mitt Romney when Mitt Romney says it. It looks like when quite a few say it. Authenticating your birth certificate. People say, well, Trust Christian Vote, what you saying? I wasted my time already. It's not even worth it. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, when you come to the vault, we're focused on asset protection. Sure, if you're going to protect the name, think about how many people got the same name. What benefit is that if they have the same name? Are you claiming their name or are you claiming a social? Well, I'm claiming it all. I'm claiming everything I've used in the public. This is what they say. That's what they say. And think about that, ladies and gentlemen. You're claiming the name. You're claiming a liability. Oh no, it's an asset. First of all, you want to know how it's a liability because if you don't do anything, nothing happens. It's a liability. You have to use it. It's a tool. It's a tool until you don't have to use it. Then it's an asset. People say, "Oh man, I got this social security number. I don't really want to use it." Okay, then stop using it. This is it. They got this population of people that are uneducated in trusteeship and ownership. Now, fair enough if you went to public school, and most of us got a public education by teachers that didn't own a business. They could only teach us what they know. If your parents owned a business, you were more likely to go into business. Fair enough. But if you didn't have those influences, most likely people were influenced into going into being an employee. Fair enough. Okay, but when you come into this knowledge now, you can't blame the system. You got to figure it out. And the information is actually available for people. It's not just on the internet. It's enrolling and in the trustee training program or finding people that are competent because clearly the people we graduated and went to school with, they were not competent to teach us how to become financially independent. How is a teacher going to teach you how to be financially independent and they're not? And authenticating the birth certificate is not becoming financially independent. It's not. Okay, someone reached out actually said, I just want to find out more about your trustee training program. I would just say reach out to Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. That's the email. And what we do is our trustee training program is tailored to our trustees and our families. You know, that's a big distinguishment between a lot of programs. A lot of programs, they try to turn this into some online e-learning course, ladies and gentlemen. It's not that. And you can't do that. Every family's different. There is no click. It's if you want to do that, we're gonna release the interview we just did with a lawyer. First of all, if you go and get the cookie cutter approach, you're gonna get what the lawyer gives you. Oh yeah, we're gonna put it out there. We might even integrate that into this episode and just start playing it. Because if you only knew that there's no cookie cutter approach to it, it's something where you have to reach out to someone that is competent and that can give you the correct information for your specific situation. The training program is definitely to work with trustees. So there are families that are in trust, there are families that are not in trust, and they want to be trained as a trustee. That looks like consultations, it looks like one-on-ones, it looks like group trainings. Those are things that it looks like. We have quarterly workshops. We have online training. Those things are available for trustees and families. So that's how that looks. And if you want to, feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. Once again, that's Christian at trustchristian.com. We provide resources. It's not just Trust Christian. A lot of people say, oh man, I hear Trust Christian come on the line. Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to release an interview with a lawyer. They're an enrolled agent. Authenticating your birth certificate. Oh man, I'm authenticating my birth certificate and that's going to help me be what? Free? Oh man, I'm trying to get a job without a social security number. Think about how that sounds. Whether y'all know it or not, one of our best episodes, one of our most listened to episodes is how to have a job with a EIN as opposed to a SSN. You want to know why? Because people want to really be in business for themselves. They know it's a lot of work, but they don't like the liability that's associated with not doing it. If you are an employee, there's a liability. Period. But I want to change that. You're not an independent contractor. That means you don't work for the company. But if you work for the company, most of the time they have employees. Employees have social security numbers, ladies and gentlemen, because they're already taking second position in wealth creation. Someone else created their wealth for them. They're just receiving it because they know how to follow directions well. When it comes to you creating, when it comes to you really creating, when it comes to you doing something, your dream, your loves, your passions, guess what? The gov don't reach his hands in your pockets first. Because with that EIN, taxes don't come first. Expenses do. Businesses pay expenses before they deal with that liability of taxes. Why? Because you're first in line. You're truly private. Now you're providing value to the public. But you're doing that through a private means. Why? How are you doing it through a private means? Because you actually have not an alter ego, not a sole prop. It could be a corp, it could be a trust, it's not an S corp, those are pass-throughs. See, this is why we have the vault, because we go over the details. That's what it looks like, ladies and gentlemen. Oh man, I got this entity. Do you own the entity or do you control the entity? It looked like Donald Trump was controlling it. It didn't look like he was owning it. Oh, he finally released his tax records. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about when he was president. One of the most powerful positions. After president, it's been a whole situation. Fair enough. Witch hunt, fair enough. But when he was running, they didn't stop him. When he was in office, they didn't stop him. Why? Because he had his affairs in the proper order. Proper order means that trusteeship was the position he was in. You all heard that Donald Trump was in trustee position. What are you waiting for? Well, I don't know where I'm going to get the information. Do I have to have the Donald Trump money? No. That's what the vault provides. We provide the information. We provide the information, the training that you need around the information, and the resources. It's not just Trust Christian Vault. We literally did the interview with the lawyer today. They're an enrolled agent. See, y'all done made Trust Christian just feel it right now, so we have no problem with playing the interview, ladies and gentlemen. It is what it is. You're about to hear the interview. It is what it is. It's so wild to know we're living in this environment where people are getting bamboozled for thousands of dollars. Thousands. All for what? Because somebody wanted to tell them that they're not free. And it's sad because you're mentally free first. And if you're not mentally free, it doesn't matter if you get that piece of paper signed. What happens when you get your birth certificate signed and you now, well, whatever they say is signed, whatever, you get it authenticated. Okay, you get it authenticated, but you're still thinking like a slave. You still thinking like a house one. Oh, I'm a house one. I'm inside a master's house, and now I have the opportunity to tear S up. I got the opportunity to mess up and not get caught. Oh, is that what they say in Trust Christian and Evolve? They saying they get to mess up and not take accountability? Is that what they're really saying? I'm gonna go ahead and play this interview for y'all. Greetings, greetings, greetings. You are now tuned into the Vault. Trust Christian, own nothing, control everything. Just want to thank you for tuning in live, listening
Can
to
you all hear
replay.
this? Please
Always
feel free to
appreciate
type into the
everybody
chat
that
if you can hear
tunes
it.
in live, listens in the replay. This is Trust Christian in the Vault, and we go ahead. Feel free to type that you. We're gonna pause for a quick second here. Please feel free to let us know if you could have heard that. We're gonna start playing it again. Actually have a special guest for you all today. We have a trust lawyer, and we're going to be interviewing. She actually is an enrolled agent, so she has quite a few stripes and tricks up her sleeve, and tons of experience. And so this is definitely a highly qualified interview, and definitely look forward to having this interview with you. So Cassandra Lynch, how are you doing today?
I'm well, thank you. How are you,
Hey,
Christian?
I'm doing excellent. Did I say it right? Is it Cassandra or Cassandra or how? I just want to make
Or
sure I
you
say it.
can call me Cass.
All right,
Yeah,
Cass, we're
go by
here,
Cass.
Cass. Thank you, Cass. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, so thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Definitely, I definitely appreciate you. I actually want you to really give the audience right away a thorough background of, you going into law, even the school you went to, and just talking about your decision to go into estate and trust if you started out there, and then actually your transition into that. So the floor is yours.
Okay. Okay, so gosh, like why I got into law. When you go to law school, you kind of have to write sort of like a personal statement about why you want to go to that law school. And I remember writing about how, I really wanted to be like this median between the people and the law. So I felt that that was really important to be
Okay.
like that middle ground person. Um, yeah, so that was my primary reason for wanting to go to law school. I attended law school in Seattle, Seattle University. Also studied outside of the US in Germany, in Hamburg. So I studied at the law school at Bucerius, called Bucerius Law School
Mm-hmm.
in Hamburg. So yeah, I have a little bit of an international background as well. So those are the schools I went to, and yeah, so that's just a little bit about my legal back. Oh, why? So why did I choose perhaps estate planning?
Mm-hmm.
Just for the viewers to know, so I do estate planning, also international taxation, also assist clients domestically if they need assistance. But gosh, I almost feel like the area of trust and estate sort of found me after university. My first position out of college was working as a paralegal assistant. So paralegals have assistants. So I was very low on the totem pole, but the area that I was working in was wealth management. And so that was essentially trusts, estates, wills, durable powers of attorney. So just all of the documents that I do now. So I almost feel like the area of law found me. I was really young in the profession. I know I
Mm-hmm.
may look young, but I'm older. I'm older. But yeah, so that area, really found me, and it's just an area that I'm very comfortable with. And I know it's a very sensitive topic for people to talk about, and so I'm able to make that more really personable, and it's a subject that people feel comfortable to speak about with me.
Definitely. When you talk about the sensitive, it's either money or their family. Two
Yeah,
most sensitive
absolutely.
things, and then death. No one wants to talk about dying, so
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely want to highlight a few things that you actually already talked about. And is there any particular reason for law outside of knowing, like you say, that you could be that medium and you can bridge that gap? Is there any emotional reason, family wise, or any personal reason that said, all right, paralegal and law in general?
It's kind of strange. You know, being an attorney was something I always wanted to do since I was like really young. So,
Okay.
when you're like, in sixth grade or, whatever year in school, they say, write a report about what you want to do when you grow up. I was writing reports about being an attorney since very young. So,
Okay.
that's why I always encourage people, it's great to talk to the youth young about what they want to do because really they manifest that and it comes into fruition. So I think
Very
that's
much
really where
so.
that comes from.
So let's definitely go over to Germany because you do have actually quite a bit of international experience, and that's important when whether you're dealing with high net worth investors wanting to invest internationally. There's a lot of people traveling internationally, and they may want to go to a jurisdiction and possibly get a second home, get a second residence, some type of citizenship. And I definitely want you to talk about Germany real quick when it comes to trust in that environment. What law system do they practice in Germany?
So it's actually going to be more of like a civil law. So it's not the common law that we have. So I
Okay.
don't necessarily set up trusts for clients in Germany. But what I do is that people, if they have international property, so we work to incorporate that into their US trust.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's interesting you said it because I could easily go to Louisiana. Have you encountered any clients in Louisiana that they have civil, jurisdictions? And so how have you kind of dealt with those clients as well?
So I will say, I've actually kind of stayed away a little bit from Louisiana because it is a completely different type of jurisdiction. So, if you are someone from Louisiana, it's best to work with an attorney within your state to create your trust. So yes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Perhaps, if anything, I do also assist clients if they're looking to create trusts outside of the US. So I do so with a boutique firm by the name of Mithril International. So
Okay.
we do assist clients that are looking for, other alternatives, other sort of opportunities outside of the US. So if you're looking for citizenship opportunities or business, growing your business outside of the US, we do assist our clients with creating business in the Caribbean. And then
Mm-hmm.
from that gives you an opportunity to, get your work
Now this is Trust Christian, y'all. Yeah, we gonna release the actual visual episode live tomorrow or another day. It'll be released. Y'all see the full interview. We're not done. We're pausing. This is how the public lawyers talk. Your trust. Your trust, remember? Your liability, remember? This isn't a critique. This is a fact. The vault is private. We interviewed a public lawyer to share the difference between what the vault does and what they do. We know our position in the marketplace and have no problem about it. But see, people think that we're promoting one thing and we're not. It's training. And that involves many different things. That involves many different people. We can connect you to the lawyers. We can connect you to accountants. We can connect you to private security attorneys that we have built relationships with. That's who you're going to build relationships with as a trustee. We are a conduit to you into the private, and it's definitely not a birth certificate. Remember, she's talking publicly. Let's continue.
work permit, which is your pathway to citizenship. And so we assist our clients that way. Once you have your property, a lot of clients I work with, they are, they're buying rental property. So they have investment property. And so that property that we're putting into the international trust that we're creating outside of the US. So if anyone has concerns about perhaps, US jurisdiction over, certain types of property, so then we are putting that international property into foreign trusts, so trusts outside of the US for protection, so asset protection trusts.
Well, let's go ahead and jump into a lot. Oh, y'all talking about the foreign trust, the asset protection trust, right? But hold on, if when y'all rewind it and review it, she also said that there's a public one, so there is more than one for a reason. A lot of the misconceptions because it's good to clear the air. When people they either don't know or they think they know. So we're going to talk to the people that have the legal research background to actually say, hey, I can go show you laws that support this, and everyone should be able to show laws that they can support their position. So let's address right away. Do citizens of the United States, if they have a foreign trust or a trust that's in a foreign jurisdiction, does that trust have to report taxes?
It does if it's generating income. So if it's depends on the type of property that you have within it. So
Mm-hmm.
if it's, the thing is about being American citizen, unlike other citizens around the world, that we do have to report our income to the US government. So that
Right.
is one of the issues there.
Right.
So, depending on the type of property.
And it also depends on the type of trust too. Would you agree?
Yes,
And
absolutely.
the jurisdiction that the trust was created in, right?
Oh, of course, of course. So that's why people, they strategically choose certain types of jurisdictions to create their trusts. Perhaps like Belize is a really great jurisdiction to set up a trust where they wouldn't really allow the U.S. to have any jurisdiction over the property within that trust.
Right, right. And it's so important to clear those misconceptions, especially about like taxes. It could be something people have issues with, so it's very important to talk to them about that and just educating them on the jurisdictions is important. That's something that we've kind of run into and, just always want to address that the trustees and clients and things of that nature. So, uh, thank you for answering that question. Is there anything else you want to share on that thought though?
No, again, just really important to understand, what jurisdiction. Usually people are choosing the jurisdictions that they're looking to live outside the US. They're looking for places where they're planning to just live anyway. So we tend to want to, work with what the clients are looking for. So we mainly work a lot with people setting up companies in Barbados, but perhaps if people want to live in other countries in the Caribbean, that's something to consider too. So we can work with that.
Okay, so tell me a worst case scenario, just in your experience so far, not the worst, like complete worst, but just a moderate to like they thought they were doing it right and then it just started going bad and they called you or they needed you or they had you and they stopped using you and then they came back after they knew they couldn't do it right anymore.
Gosh, a few worst case scenarios. I tend to talk about them in my webinars as well. Usually it'll be like people that create a trust and they haven't funded it. So that's pretty huge.
Yeah.
People will have created a trust and then, maybe, 7 years later, again, I review trust. I work with clients nationwide, I do document review. And so a few of the first questions I'll ask, okay, well, have you funded the trust? Have you put these assets in trust? And they haven't. And so the thing is that if you've not put your assets in trust, and you unfortunately happen to pass in that time that you've not done that, all of the assets will still go through probate. So this is a really big thing. So essentially, it's just made your trust a very expensive will.
Hmm.
So although you have the written document, if you've not gone through that second piece of funding the trust, of putting the property in trust, all the assets will still go through probate. So that's one of the biggest issues I tend to come
What
across.
do you think is the challenge for that? The why people have a challenge putting the assets in?
Oh yeah, I think it's unlike a will, the similarities that you write both of those documents. The second part of a trust is the second main piece is putting everything into the trust. So that's what's making it different from a will. Well,
Hmm.
you've got to go through that work of, if you want to put your car into your trust, you've got to go down to the DMV, you've got to change the title. If you want to put your home in the trust, you've got to change the deed. So it's just that extra work. And so I know people are probably thinking, oh, it's so onerous to do that myself, but that's something we also assist with as well. So if you need assistance with trust funding, we can assist with that. But I think it's just that extra work. So people, we've all got busy lives, and so that's just something that gets put on the back burner. Or some people maybe they've started to put some things in trust, but not everything. And so what ends up happening is that those few things avoid probate, but everything else that was outside of the trust still will go through probate. In I guess positively that in this case, if you have a trust, whatever gets through probate would then we say pour into the trust, and then the trustee would manage that. But those assets that didn't make it into the trust would still need to go through probate.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that because when I think of why people don't put the assets in. Like you say, it is slightly onerous that they either have to do it themselves or they don't. One of the questions I would like to know as well, and I've done an episode about this, is starting a trust and not having assets to put in. So, say someone comes to you and they say, "Oh yeah, I want to be in trust, but I don't have any assets, or I don't have a large amount of money to put in." Do you still say what line of questioning would you give to that person to find out if trust, quote unquote, or any style of trust is good for them?
Yeah, so usually, so I get those clients, but a lot of people just don't tend to think. I was just even, working with a client yesterday, and I got to a part where I was like, oh, gosh, we were talking about like the residuary. So like, after your primary and your contingent beneficiaries, you can have your residuary. And I said, well, usually, and right. And so usually I have to kind of prompt those ideas because, they're just not things that people tend to think about. So I was like, oh, usually people will have a nonprofit as their residuary beneficiary. And he's like, and I was like, oh, do you have, or, are you participating in any political organizations or charities or churches? He's like, oh, I have a nonprofit. But, so that wasn't something that he had thought about in the beginning to tell me, oh, this is all the types of property I had. I had to kind of, suss it out, we kind of say.
You have
So,
to.
yeah, so, so it's just kind of like, perhaps maybe people don't tend to think about that. But yeah, so I just kind of got lost my train of thought. But
No, you're fine. And it's interesting because, like you say, you have to almost pull it out. And it's interesting
mm,
that you even are, you know that like there are certain trusts that can have that residuary or beneficiary be a charity.
mm,
And there's rules and all those regulations, but having someone like you hold their hand, do you think that's what makes you different as an attorney for trust, that you actually do hold your client's hand and work with them as on wanting to have really in our space, it should be family. And so the lawyers usually are family lawyers and they work with the families for generations, So could you
mhm.
talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what I think makes sort of legacy really unique is that we do focus on sort of like that personalized element. Like, when I do my webinars, I always tell people we only take on 10 clients a month. So we're not taking on a huge amount. And that's because we give that personalized attention. So, we really are about building the relationship. And usually with our clients, if we start with the client formation, usually our clients are coming back for that trust funding. And then should they need any trust administration, assistance with that, may that be updates or revocations, we assist with that as well. So we really help our clients through all, the whole process.
Bam. We're going to release the full episode here in the next day or so. Feel free to look out for it. Trust Christian in the Vault. We appreciate you all for tuning in live, listen, replay. We come in contact with these people all the time. So when people reach out to the vault and they say, "Oh, Trust Christian in the Vault, what's going on over there? Who do you really know? And how powerful are the people you know? And what's going on? How do I know this trust thing's for real? Or how do I know this is legit? Because you didn't show your face on the internet more than 2 or 3 times." Yeah, we also have people that have spent thousands, over $50,000 on their education. You build those relationships, ladies and gentlemen. You're only as strong as your team. We have a team. These people are a part of the team. We go to them for specific pieces of information and help because they help. These are the people that you can have on your team. These are people that we feature. Go back to the accounting episode, ladies and gentlemen, the accounting episode, uh, the accounting 101 episode. Feel free to reach out, Christian at trustchristian.com. We definitely are going to release that episode. We are in contact with estate planners, lawyers, accountants on a regular basis, dealing with trusteeship, dealing with family planning. If that's something you're looking for, feel free to reach out. Christian at trustchristian.com. Building those relationships is equally as important as just trying to be a trustee. The relationships are equally important. We look forward to hearing from you all. We look forward to your feedback on the episode, feedback, and reaching out for trustee training. Definitely look forward to it. Christian at trustchristian.com. Peace and joy.